Hello and welcome to the Music Attic. I'm Mike, and as I've said 6,470 times, this is the attic where I discuss movies, DVDs, Blu-rays, 4Ks, and music for all the nice people out there in YouTube land. As you might have guessed, this is something relating to music, probably the Beach Boys. So without further ado, today's big release is this giant box set of the Beach Boys. We Got a Groove. Of course, I like this stained glass window look. It kind of reminds me of the Wild Honey album, if you're a Beach Boy fan. I, of course, have been a Beach Boys fan for quite a while. I believe it was around 1980 or 1981 when I first started listening to the Beach Boys. And actually, one of the first LPs, if you know what that is, I ever got was the Keeping the Summer Alive LP. Just because of the time frame, it was like the newest album when I first started getting into the group. Of course, they're known for their harmonies, and my first dive into harmonies was our school had a barbershop quartet at like some kind of school function. I was very intrigued with that, so the Beach Boys were a natural fit. After that, one of the first YouTube channels I was ever the first YouTube channel I was ever subscribed to was the Beach Boys Basement with Steve Lewis, and he's been a tremendous source of Beach Boy information. I've bought so much stuff and learned so much stuff from his channel, and actually he was the first non-family member to subscribe to my channel, so have been very thankful for him during this whole process. In fact, when I was starting a channel, he had some very encouraging words, because it was a very long process, and who wants to hear about that anyway? But anyway, today's big subject is this giant box set. For as big as it is, it's only a 3D set. Most of these other box sets were between 5 and 6 CDs, so quite a bit smaller, but right around the same price. This covers the period of the 15 Big Ones album, Beach Boys Love You, plus the unreleased Adult Child that Brian was planning, I believe, as a solo project. Maybe that's a little hard to read, but I don't know. The lighting, as I've said before, the lighting up here is terrible. There's where the 3 CDs were. And if you know anything from the movie part of this channel, I hate sliding discs in and out of cardboard, so I have put them all in these separate cases. Like I say, I don't like sliding anything across a disc of any kind. And here is, I usually save this stuff as well, the little hype sticker that came with this set. This must have been a very anticipated set, which I'm sure it was. This was like the resurgence of Brian. Brian was back, as they say, even though I never really knew that he was gone. And so he made a lot of music during this time, surprisingly, and it was probably the last big time before the death of Dennis Wilson. like I say, it covers mainly the 3 albums. And I think part of the hype of this whole set was the unreleased Adult Child album. It's probably the most famous unreleased Beach Boys stuff, next to Smile, of course. So, people have been clamoring for that stuff for quite a while. If you have, old boots of this stuff, sometimes the sound quality of that stuff can't be taken as great. But, like I say, it covers the 3 albums. And this has 3 records as well in the set. And that's the MIU album, or not the MIU album, the Beach Boys Love You album. Which is a pretty cool album in itself. A lot of people have this ranked very highly. It's got some strange songs, and at least one of the songs is a lot older than the album, that Good Time. I think that's on that album. Of course, there's the 15 Big Ones. Of course, this isn't the original artwork for the 15 Big Ones album, which I heard a lot of people didn't care for that album cover. And last but not least, the Adult Child, which I had previously all the songs for this Adult Child release because of things like Boots. So it was very nice to get, really good copies of these songs. And if you listen to this box set, there's a lot of the instrumental, stuff from behind it, the vocals. This music is, some of it's contemporary, sounds like to me. But it's very, intricate stuff like he was doing in the 60s. So it really was a great resurgence of Brian back into the fold of things. But as we know, or as you probably know if you're a Beach Boy fan, this stuff never seems to last long enough. Also comes with this big wavy book that's kind of unwieldy as far as trying to show it off. Unless you, lay it down flat, have an overhead camera, but, I'm not that professional. So a lot of cool stuff in there. And some of these songs, too, that's the one thing I always thought was amazing about Brian. For all the problems that he had, he would start something like years prior, and then you'd see it show up on one of his newer albums or something. Because I do have a piece of paper. There is one song, Hey There Mama, which previous to this release, I only knew it as I Saw Santa Rocking Around the Christmas Tree from the Ultimate Christmas CD. Because there was a bunch of songs, if you don't know, they were going to make a Christmas album at one point there in the mid to late 70s. And so, not these albums, but the MIU album had a lot of songs that had a Christmas version, plus the album version that we got, because the record label said, we don't want a Christmas album, we want a regular album. So this is actually a song from that time period that got turned into a Christmas song. Lazy Lizzie, which is a song I like. It's kind of a strange song. It was started years earlier for the, I think it was the Holland album, had that little Mount Vernon. I think it came with a single. It was the Mount Vernon thing. So that was cool. Of course, the title track, or the name of the box set, We Got a Groove. I knew that song from a boot that I had, and the boot never had the Mike Love vocals to it, at least on the one I had. So to hear that there was more lyrics and the song was more complete, of course, was a big thrill. And as with some of the previous box sets, you hear like starts of songs that never turned into anything. And it's like, some of this stuff was reworked. And that was the baffling thing for me years later after I learned more about the group. It seemed like they were struggling for songs on this Keeping the Summer Alive album. It's like they had this whole back catalog of stuff. It's like, why didn't you just, sweeten up some of those songs and put them on there, and it might have been a much better album than it turned out to be. But like I said, I was finally thrilled to get it. I had missed the first pre-order of it, which was, I think, in February. I got the email because I get emails from this Beach Boy store. And the very day I got the email, I went to check it out, and it was already sold out. And then, so I missed that. And then a few weeks later, you could pre-order it again, and it was going to be March when it was released. Well, then that kind of got delayed. And so finally, this past Monday, I got it. And like I say, it was about $120, which is pretty pricey. But if you're a big Beach Boy fan and you have the previous box sets, this is one of those must-have things because, like I say, it covers this adult child album. Although I will say one of the big complaints that I heard from other channels reviewing this set was that it did not include the Hey Little Tomboy, which was originally part of the adult child album. It was released on the MIU album, which was the follow-up to Beach Boys' Love You album. So I don't know if they didn't put it on just because it'll be on the next big box set. And they do this every so many years, these big box sets or a digital release. So they retain the copyright, I think, to these songs because it's like 50 years out from this stuff. But they did say that, oh, well, you can put the Hey Little Tomboy on it if you want to make the whole album, just record. If you're making, like I have an MP3 player, I know, I'm old. Why don't you just have it on your phone or something? You can add Hey Little Tomboy to it, and there you have the complete, adult child album. Although I will say I do have a version of Hey Little Tomboy that has like talking between the Beach Boys in between some things at the very end of the song, which might be closer to what the release would have been on the Adult Child album, but who knows with this stuff. So like I say, buying this whole set really wiped out a lot of the old boot stuff that I had that was kind of poor quality. And I'm very glad to get it, of course, finally, after all this time. Oh, I don't think I showed this, but did come with this giant, I guess, an L card. I won't call it a J card. Of course, Brothers Studios. That was the Beach Boys. The three of them were brothers, of course. Which sadly, none of the brothers are still alive. Us just losing Brian, I think it was last year. So that was very sad, of course. But, like I say, a lot of these Beach Boy channels have already reviewed this. And, of course, as I always say, they're far better than this one. So I've been listening to this ever since I got it. Of course, I put it on my MP3 player to listen to in the car. And like I said before too, a lot of great standout tracks that maybe you've never heard of. Of course, the We Got a Groove, Lazy Lizzy, Sherry, She Needs Me has been released on previous stuff before. Sea Cruise, of course, is a great number. It was on 10 Years of Harmony prior to this. And there's a lot of 2025 mixes of this stuff. especially like the instrumentals and all that. And, you know, a lot of people I see in comments, not on my channel, of course, but, you know, it's like Sea Cruise. They're like, why wasn't this on 15 Big Ones? It's a really good song. It's like, it seems like the Beach Boys made a lot of just terrible decisions there in the 70s that could have made them more relevant than they were. Because a lot of these record sales were, you know, not very good. I was impressed about one thing. It looked like, from what I read, could be wrong, so, but it looks like this is the original like for the Beach Boys Love You album, it was the 1977 original mix. So I was very impressed with that, because it seems like nowadays everything's like, oh, the new remastered and the new... Well, yeah, this probably is a remastered mix of the 77, and it sounds really good. But, you know, groups like Queen and different other groups are using AI to make the songs and the albums more of what maybe they originally wanted them to be. So I was very happy about that. So, if I was to rate this box set, I would give it at least, I would give it 9 rolls of pink insulation out of 10. Yeah, it's a little pricey, and yeah, you probably don't get quite as much as you would on some of those older, you know, the previous box sets. You do get the records if you have a record player, which I do. I have multiple record players because I'm old and I know how to use them. I recently saw videos of people like, here's how you use a record player. And it's like, but I grew up in a different time, so obviously I know how to use a record player. So I guess that'll do it for this episode, musical episode. Maybe I'll have more in the future. But if you bought this release, or you have any of this Beach Boy stuff, or you're a big Beach Boy fan, leave a comment down in the comment section. Like I always say, I'd love to discuss it. So, until next time when I have a movie, it will be a movie, in the attic. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.